Hey, everybody. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Thanks for coming back. It's JC and I here today. Hey, JC, how you doing?
Wendy, I'm doing pretty fantastic. A little refreshed from a long weekend and hanging in there.
Good, good. Me too. I'm kind of in the middle of vacation month in the month of May. This will be released in June, but I have learned I need to take vacation earlier than May. It was a little too much of waiting. But you know what? I want to talk about today about management training. And first of all, talking about vacation is we need to train our managers who work for us that employees need vacation. They need to take a break. They need to be refreshed, and they need to make sure that their managers have got their back in pursuing a vacation, amongst many, many other things. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. My mind's slightly blank a little bit, I hate to say it that way, only because when we think about the vastness of management training, the first thing that comes to mind is like, shouldn't they already know what they're doing? And then the second thing that comes to mind is, well, obviously they don't. And this is where these good core discussions really come into play. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing something wrong along the way, you could be losing employees left and right. And no one needs a issue with retention at this point in time, Wendy, by no stretch of the imagination.
It's funny that you say that, though, like that you say, oh, well, shouldn't they already know what they're doing in order to be promoted? And I'm going to tell you, they don't. And we just think like, oh, you got promoted to a manager or a supervisor, or even a team lead, and they wake up the next day with all these skills. No, hopefully you promoted them or hire them into that position because you saw some kind of potential in them. Either they were a manager or supervisor somewhere else before, or they have the leadership capabilities. But everybody, including me, needs training. And I need you, employer, to tell me exactly how you want it done in your way. I might know how to do X, Y, Z, but I don't know how to do it in the way you want it done.
Interestingly, too, to your point, it's there may even be good core programs at many employers that have these leadership succession planning training type endeavors. Employees go, they take them, they're management trained, they know what's up. But until they're actually in the position, it could be, it's book smart for street smart in a way, right?
It really is. It really is. How many times, well, just think about the things we learned in college or even heck, high school or, middle school or elementary school. And we're sitting there going, when am I ever going to use this? And then 20 years later, you're like, oh, I'm going to use this now, but now I need to be refreshed on it because I learned this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I learned it in a different world, meaning, a world that wasn't so full of voluntary employee turnover. So I really want to talk about how management training is a crucial element in improving not only employee retention, but their productivity, their morale, and then, of course, reducing employee lawsuits for any size business in the United States and in other countries too, but we'll focus on the United States here. So,
and Wendy, when we think about leaders of organizations, they could be thinking about management training. It could be at the tip of their tongue, and then they think about procrastinating about it, and then they decide to wait. So it's a vicious cycle sometimes, right?
It is. They say, oh, I don't have the money. I don't have the extra $500 or $1,000 or, a couple $100 to send Johnny to this course over here. So I'll just wing it and hope he doesn't screw up. And it's like, well, if he screws up, grab a mirror, employer, because you got no one to blame but yourself. You put him in a position that he's not necessarily qualified for. He said he'll accept it with the training that you also told him you were going to give. And then he fails, and then you're mad at him. And then what happens, JC, especially if you've promote it from within, is then you lose not only the manager because they quit and leave, they take employees with them. So you've lost an employee who you promoted. Now you've lost the manager, and then they take employees with them. So employee retention is so important. And it starts, in my expert opinion, with management training and making sure that all your managers are trained in the things that are not only legally necessary, but the way you want them to do it for your company, not the company next door.
Companies that offer comprehensive training programs have a 218% higher income per employee than those that don't. And employees are 42% more likely to stay with the company long term if they receive ongoing training and development opportunities. Retention rates, it's a big deal.
It really is. I mean, it's so expensive to recruit these days. I mean, I'll just say since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, it became so expensive to recruit. Just to post an ad, even just on Indeed, which many companies use. There are places you could post ads for free on government websites and everything, but not all candidates go there. So to post an ad on Indeed and post an ad on, say, LinkedIn, it is so, so expensive. And there's no guarantee that you're going to actually get candidates because your job description may not be accurate. It may not be clearly understood by some random person who's reading it. And the person who is reading it may say, you know what, you're not paying me enough, or you're not listing the pay at all. So therefore, I'm not even applying to this. So management training, super, super important. And the retention rates. I think you have some facts about turnover as well.
Yeah, I absolutely do. The cost to replace an employee can range from 50% to 200% of their annual salary, making retention through effective training extremely financially beneficial for you.
Yeah. So suddenly, if you have to replace an employee, and let's just say it's 100% of their cost to replace them, not the 200% that you just quoted, suddenly that management training program that was only $1,000 or $500 seemed a lot more affordable.
Absolutely.
Other things that I did want to talk about management training is, listen, it doesn't need to be complicated. There are so many training programs that you could find online. Some people can just read a manual or a guide and they can figure things out. Most humans, though, do need interactive training. They need Q&A. They need to be able to, have some forms to take away and say, hey, I need a specific item for the industry that I work in. So my advice to anybody that's listening and is saying, yes, you know what, I need to find somebody who can help us with management training. Find someone, not necessarily local, because everything can be done on Zoom. It could be done, on the internet, but find somebody who is a specialist in your industry or at least dabbled in your industry. I do most of my work is actually management training, which I think most people don't realize. I used to do a lot more HR consulting where I was kind of their HR department, but I'm not going to lie to you folks. It got exhausting and it got very burdensome because I don't know what's going on in every single company. And so then it could get expensive. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I have been doing probably, I would say 80% of my work is in management training, either in person, online via tools such as Zoom, or I've also launched an online training program that anybody can go to my website and check out and download the program right there and watch it. Tons and tons of resource and free downloads with it, but it 100% affects productivity and morale of the employees. Who the heck wants to work for a manager who doesn't know how to give feedback? Who wants to work for a manager who doesn't even know how to interview candidates?
Not many people, Wendy. And at the end of the day, it's partly office politics in a way, which is like a puzzle. You do have to piece it together to try to figure out who's going to stab you in the back. So, of course, you do need a level of that good core training. And that goes into all of this adds into improved morale at the end of the day, right?
It really does. And guess what? If you have good morale and somebody has a bad day, they're going to come back tomorrow because they're going to say, okay, I had a bad day. My coworker had a bad day, which gave me a bad day, but I have a relationship with my direct manager and I can let them know what's going on. And therefore I'm going to come back to work tomorrow versus clicking on that email that says, hey, we're interested in you. Let us interview you. And it's your competitor. So morale is so, so important for productivity. Again, I cannot stress it enough that since the COVID pandemic, employees have decided and are speaking loud and clear. If you don't treat me well, I will go somewhere else.
Employee engagement, so critical. Organizations with strong training programs see 21% higher profitability and a 41% reduction in absenteeism due to increased employee engagement. 76% of employees believe that opportunities for career growth are one of the top reasons they'll remain with their current employer. And when we think about job satisfaction, 74% of employees feel they aren't achieving their full potential at work due to lack of development opportunities. And companies that invest in professional development experience, they rate 34% higher employee satisfaction rates than others who don't.
I want to go back to one of the statistics that you just mentioned about the career growth. Folks, your people want to be developed. Most people, not all. There's always an exception, right? But most people want to be developed. This does not necessarily mean that they want to climb the org chart. They just want to have more skills, more knowledge, skills, and ability. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I want to be a team leader. Oh, I want to be a supervisor. I want to be a manager. Now, many people will accept your management position. They will accept your team lead position just because there's money that comes with it. So I really, really encourage listeners today that when your employees are telling you, I need professional development, I need career growth, dig deeper to find out exactly what that means. I have seen way too many companies say, oh, that means you want to be a supervisor. Then they put that person in that position and that guy, employee says, peace out, I'm out of here. Management is hard. I do not want to do this. And it is. Management is very, very hard, harder than it's ever been in our entire lives. And I'm sure it's going to continue to get worse just because of the competition alone out there with us all trying to retain employees, attract employees, engage them, tell them they're doing a good job, let them know when they're not doing a good job. So please, please, please invest. I don't care where you get the employee training, whether it's with me, whether it's with somebody else. Make sure you're investing time, money, and other resources in training your managers how to manage people the way you want them to be managed.
It's not always about chasing the money. Sometimes it's all about chasing the job, too. No need to try to force an employee into a position where it's solely about the money either. That's where that talent development comes into play. And this is where we could also catapult to then capitalize on career-based opportunities. Some of that stems from productivity. Businesses that invest in employee training programs report a 24% increase in overall productivity. Trained employees are up to 32% more productive than their untrained counterparts. And in the realm of skills development, 68% of employees report improved job performance as a direct result of training and development initiatives. And, here's one more stat I found tucked away at the bottom. 92% of employees that have been trained want to say thank you, Wendy Sellers, the HR lady. It was great training.
Thanks, JC. I actually do want to talk about that a minute because we were talking about management training. So thank you for bringing that up. Don't forget about employee training. And I can't stress this enough. Just because somebody was trained to do something better, be more productive, sell more, make more, whatever it is, find more mistakes so that you can reduce the errors, doesn't mean they necessarily want the career growth raise, but no one's going to turn down some money. Just make sure that the money is connected to something. I want to switch gears a little bit, JC, and then talk about employee lawsuits. They're a fact of business. Most of us actually go into business thinking, we have such a great culture, or I know these employees. I opened this company. I've worked with them forever. They'll never, never sue me. Well, people get desperate. And if you terminate them or, have some kind of bias or harassment in your workplace and your managers don't stop it, or worse, your managers are a part of that, then your employees absolutely may sue you, and they don't necessarily need a lawyer to do that.
Really?
Many employees,
what do you mean?
You can go right through the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and you could file a complaint online, and the EEOC has to do something about it. And so the government could be working on behalf of your employee to say, hey, you're harassing me. You're giving me, making decisions based on bias, based off of my gender orientation, my gender, my sexual orientation, my age, my race, my skin
hair.
color, whatever it might be. My lack of hair in your case.
Thank you.
But seriously, employee lawsuits have to be taken very, very seriously. I want everyone that's listening today to avoid lawsuits at all by all costs. And the number one way to do that is to train not just your managers, but train your employees. Number one on harassment and anti-harassment, but then with the with the managers, everything from how do I hire to how do I give bad news to employees, all the way to how do I let somebody go legally and make sure that we are not discriminating against somebody when we're removing them from our company.
Effective management training in compliance and ethics can reduce the incidence of employee lawsuits by up to 50%. Training programs focused on harassment prevention and workplace ethics can reduce the risk of legal actions by creating a much safer and more respectful work environment. And when we think about conflict resolution, 80% of employees who receive conflict management training are better equipped to handle disputes internally, and in turn, reducing the likelihood of lawsuits. Wendy, when we think about small business and big companies, these are two totally different areas in the realm of work, though, isn't it?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if you have 3 employees or you have 3,000 employees, somebody has to manage those employees, whether it's you, the business owner, or whether it's a whole team of managers, maybe department directors, managers, supervisors, team leads. There is a big impact with training on smaller businesses, but there's also a big impact on larger businesses as well. So many large businesses that I do know and that I work for as well have their own internal, training program, but often, shocker, your employees don't listen to your internal team, but they will listen to an external consultant. It drives me crazy. Now that I'm the external consultant, I can help you, but it always has driven me crazy when I was in the HR seat. Like, hey, why are you listening to that person over there when I told you the same exact thing? It's just human nature. That's all I can explain.
In regards to small businesses, those small businesses that do implement management training programs experience a 22% lower turnover rate compared to those that don't invest in these programs. And small businesses overall see a 27% increase in employee productivity when management training is prioritized. Now, taking a look at the large companies, those with extensive training programs report a 19% increase in overall profitability. Employee engagement scores are 25% higher in large organizations that offer robust training and development opportunities.
What's interesting, JC, is the definition of small business. It is so vague, and I don't think at all accurate. I'm looking at this website called the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy, and it's under like the SBA.gov. So it's a government agency, and it says right here, this blows my mind. So the SBA Office of Advocacy generally defines a small business as an independent business having fewer than 500 employees. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking small businesses are, 100 employees or less, or 50 employees or less. And this information on this website also states that most businesses in the United States, 99.9% of businesses are identified as small businesses, so less than 500 employees. And that's a lot. So small businesses, there's help for you. Don't think that just because, I'm a small business and I don't have the money, or my employees love working here, I don't need to do that. Since most businesses are indeed small, you do need to do that, because another small business can steal your employees.
The world is quite circular. And when we think about our business, we could also quickly think about customer satisfaction. We could think about our brand reputation. When you have a poorly managed team, that team is less likely to provide high-quality customer service. And this can then ultimately result in dissatisfied customers, negative reviews, and loss of business overall. And consistently poor customer experiences, these can damage your company's reputation, making it much harder to attract and retain not just employees, but more importantly, customers. Back to you.
Absolutely. It's 100% accurate. I would like for anyone who's listening today, if there's any kind of training that you would like me to develop on my online training program, just shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll make sure that I get it out there. I have just launched 20 online training courses. You can go to my website, thehrlady.com, and click on services and video training. And here's the kicker. And I know some of my competitors are going to probably want to throw an egg at me. Most of my courses are only $100. And I've done that because I just want them to be affordable. I want the everyday manager who might be a brand new manager, never managed anybody before, or you only have 2 managers in your entire company. I want everyone to have access to training, such as how to recruit and onboard, how to give accountability, conflict resolution for managers. I even have a short 30-minute course on professionalism, trust, and respect. So you can have your employees go through that to say, okay, the expectation in our company is not just about the boring sexual harassment and don't discriminate and don't bias, but really don't be biased, but really about, hey, we're all in this together. Let's be respectful from each other. And then my courses also have a little quiz with them and a certification too. And so you can prove that they've watched the course, they listened to it, they passed the test, and now they know, okay, this is the culture that is expected of everybody in here. Most of my courses online, though, are specifically for managers, although I do have a few for employees as well.
Wendy, what if there's a company out there that's looking for tailored, customized, more relevant training? Not to say that yours isn't, but something unique to their environment. Would they be able to work with you to then build something along those lines?
Absolutely. I could build an online training program for you that you can use just for your employees, or I could build a course and put it on my on-demand training, and then you could just get it from there. But yeah, I'm very, very flexible. We're all in this world together, and it's not easy managing employees, managing humans, or just dealing with humans in real life. So let me know what you need. I'd be more than happy to help you. And if I can't do it, I will find somebody else who can.
Ultimately, evaluating your company's management training program involves not only assessing its alignment with organizational goals, measuring its outcomes, but also examining the delivery and ongoing support provided. Ask yourself some of the key questions. How is the training going to be delivered and supported? And what are these measurable outcomes? And how aligned is this with our company's goals and needs? If at the end of the day, you're looking for more information on how to best assess your situation, stop by the HR Lady Doc. More than happy to help you out with that. Not me, but Wendy Sellers, the HR Lady will.
Yes, thank you for that. So again, thehrlady.com, you could check out my services tab. There's a video training link. You do have to go to the external online training program and just sign up real quick, create a username. It's usually your email, a password, and then you can go in and check all the courses. And I promise you, when you go in and sign up on the online training program just to check it out, there's no nagging emails. I do not send those. I hate them myself, so I would never do that to you. If you need any other advice whatsoever, folks, just let me know. I'm always looking for feedback on my programs, on this podcast. We hope this information has been helpful. Thanks so much and take care.